The announcement came just after Mom finished carving the Christmas ham. We were gathered around the mahogany dining table in the house that had been ours for 23 years, the same house where I'd unwrapped gifts as a child, where family dinners had once felt warm instead of like a battlefield. Carlos set down his wine glass and cleared his throat, as if he were about to make a toast. Instead, he delivered a carefully rehearsed blow. "Sophia, we need to talk about your living situation." I paused mid-cut, my fork and knife hovering over neatly sliced pieces of ham, an old nervous habit. "What about it? This house belongs to the family now. Mom and Dad need the space as they get older. You've been here rent-free for 2 years. It's time to move on." Mom gave a solemn nod. "It's for your own good, sweetheart. Independence will help you grow." Dad chimed in, voice firm. "Carlos has been checking the market. This house has gone up in value, and frankly, we'd use the space more efficiently." "More efficiently?" I repeated, setting my fork down. Carlos leaned forward, warming to his speech. "Jessica and I are planning to have kids. The nursery upstairs would be perfect. And with Dad's knee problems, our parents should really be on one level. It just makes sense. Sense for them, never for me." "So, you want me out so you can move in?" Mom's tone softened into her practiced reasonable voice. "It's not about wanting, Sophia. It's practical. You're 31. Most people your age already have homes of their own. And Carlos is 34, married, and in a stable career," Dad added. "He's in a better position to take care of this place." The message couldn't have been clearer. Carlos was the golden child, the financial advisor with the real job. I was the disappointment who tinkered with computers, unmarried, and overstaying my welcome. What they didn't know: I'd been paying this house's property taxes for 3 years. I'd quietly covered Dad's medical bills after his heart attack. Their generosity in letting me live here rent-free had always been the other way around. This was my house. "So, when do you expect me out?" I asked evenly. "New Year's seems fair," Carlos said. "That gives you a week to find something." A week. During the holidays. In a brutal rental market. It was a setup designed to make me panic. But instead of begging, I reached for my phone. The silence was instant. Phones at the table had always been taboo. "Who are you calling?" Mom asked. I held up a finger. "Martinez Security Services? This is Sophia Martinez. I need a team dispatched to Oakwood Drive immediately." "Yes, ma'am." "Situation? Trespassers. Remove Carlos, Richard, and Elena Martinez from the property within the hour." The pause on the line was brief. "Understood. Team will arrive in 20 minutes. I hung up, placed my phone beside my plate, and calmly resumed eating. Their reactions were priceless. Carlos gaped like I'd grown horns. Mom looked offended. Dad blinked rapidly, like he was trying to rewrite reality in his head. "Sophia," Mom's voice shook. "What did you just do?" I called security. "You're being removed from my property." Carlos barked a laugh, thin and shaky. "Your property? Don't be ridiculous. This house has been in the family for decades. Just because you've been squatting here doesn't make it yours. Actually, it does." I reached into my purse, pulled out a folder I'd been carrying for weeks, and slid it across the table. On top was the deed. My name, clear as day. "This house was sold to me 3 years ago. You lost it when you defaulted on the mortgage." Dad's face drained of color. "That's not possible. We never defaulted. You stopped paying in March 2021, right after the medical bills. By December, you were 6 months behind. Foreclosure was inevitable." Mom's voice wavered. "But, we caught up." "You caught up because I bought the house through my LLC and let you live here. I've been covering the payments ever since." I flipped to the purchase agreement. $847,000. That's what I paid to keep this house. For the family. For you. Carlos snatched the papers, scanning them like a drowning man looking for air. This has to be fake. You don't have $847,000. You work in IT support or something." I work in cybersecurity consulting, I said evenly. My firm has contracts with 17 Fortune 500 companies and 12 government agencies. Last year's revenue was $42 million. The words hit like a thunderclap. 42 million, Dad whispered. That's gross, not profit, but yes. Carlos shook his head, trying to regain footing. If you had that kind of money, why stay here? Why drive that old Honda? Why? Why shop at Target? Why eat from food trucks? Why pretend I'm barely scraping by? I cut him off. I asked myself the same thing. Why keep the charade when I could have bought and sold half your friends? I let the silence stretch before answering, because I wanted to know if you valued me as a person or just someone you could control. The truth was deeper, but that was all they were getting at Christmas dinner. My business had grown quietly, one security patch, one referral, one contract at a time, until I was running a multi-million-dollar firm. But in cybersecurity, visibility makes you a target, so I lived modestly, stayed low profile, and let my family believe I was just the computer geek who couldn't quite launch her life. Meanwhile, I paid their property taxes, covered Dad's medical bills under the guise of a charity program, bought the house from foreclosure and let them keep living here, thinking they'd worked out a miracle deal with the bank. Generous? Maybe. Cowardly? Definitely. But tonight, as they plotted to evict me from my own home, the mask came off. Sophia, Mom said carefully, if this house is yours, why didn't you ever say so? When exactly? I asked. When you changed the subject every time I mentioned my job? When Carlos cracked jokes about me being the family tech support? When you assumed I was here because I couldn't afford rent? Dad's jaw tightened. We didn't assume. You literally just told me most people my age have homes and that Carlos was in a better position to care for this place. 3 years you've thought I was a burden, while I was the one keeping this family afloat. Carlos gripped the deed like he could will it to vanish. Even if this is real, you can't just throw us out. We live here. We have rights. Wrong, I said calmly. You've lived here as my guests. No rent, no lease, no tenancy. Legally, you're trespassers who overstayed their welcome. The doorbell rang. That would be security. I stood and walked to the door. 3 men in black uniforms, Martinez Security Services patches on their arms, greeted me. Good evening, Ms. Martinez. David, the lead, said. Trespassing situation? 3 individuals in the dining room? That's correct. Remove them. They may collect personal belongings, but furniture and household items stay. Vehicles too, except the Honda. That's mine. Understood. We walked back together. The guards filled the doorway, and the energy shifted instantly. Carlos half rose, puffing up like he was ready for a fight, but Jessica yanked him down. Mr. and Mrs. Martinez, David said politely, you are trespassing on private property. You must vacate immediately. This is ridiculous, Dad sputtered, but his voice lacked conviction. This is our home, Mom said desperately. No, David replied. According to property records, this house belongs to Martinez Holdings LLC. Ms. Martinez is the authorized representative. Mom turned to me, pleading, Sophia, sweetheart, can't we talk this out? It's Christmas. An hour ago, you wanted me gone by New Year's, I said coldly. The only thing that's changed is the truth, and the truth is, you never cared to ask who I really was. And based on those assumptions, you decided I was disposable. Carlos finally spoke, his voice sharp with desperation. Fine, say you do own this house, say you have some business, that doesn't give you the right to destroy our family. I'm not destroying anything, I said evenly. I'm drawing boundaries. You wanted me gone, now I'm granting your wish. The only difference is, you're the ones leaving. His face flushed. Where are we supposed to go? The same place you expected me to. Figure it out. David, the head of security, stepped forward. You have until 6 p.m. tomorrow to collect personal belongings. After that, anything left behind will be considered abandoned. Silence, the kind that fills a room when everything people believed about themselves has just collapsed. I stood, looking at the people who had shaped me, my parents, my brother, realizing that their version of love had always been conditional. Sophia, Dad said finally, voice low, we need a longer conversation about this. I nodded once. 3 years overdue. Then I left them sitting at the table and went upstairs, not to pack for moving out, but to decide which parts of my old life were worth keeping. By nightfall, Carlos and Jessica were loading suitcases into their BMW, their movements stiff and angry. Mom and Dad carried boxes to the Mercedes slowly, like the weight wasn't just cardboard but years of pride crumbling in their hands. By morning, the house was mine alone. It didn't feel empty, it felt lighter. That evening, the phone rang. "Sophia," Mom said softly, "we're staying at Carlos's for now, but we need to talk." "I'm listening." She hesitated. "Then, you were right, about us not asking, not knowing. We were so focused on what we thought success should look like, we couldn't see yours." It wasn't an apology, not exactly, but it was close. "Mom, I need you to understand, I didn't tell you all this to humiliate you. I told you because I'm done being treated like the failure, when I've been the one holding this family together for years. The medical bills," she whispered, "the house payments, that was you. All of it. Why didn't you just say so?" "Because every time I tried, you shut me down. You made it clear my input wasn't wanted." "We were trying to protect you," she said. "From what? From being useful? From mattering?" A long silence. Then, at last, "We were wrong. About a lot." "Yes," I said simply, "you were." "What happens now?" Now, the question I hadn't let myself think about until that moment. Now we decide what kind of family we actually want to be. Honest, respectful, equal, and as for the house, it's mine. If you want to live here, we'll set terms, real terms, with boundaries. "We'd like that," she said quietly. "Then we'll talk, but not today. Today, I'm going to enjoy my house, alone." The months that followed weren't easy. Carlos struggled most, his identity as the successful son shattered when he learned the sister he mocked as the computer geek had been the one funding the family's survival. It took a family therapist to help him face it. Slowly, painfully, we rebuilt. 6 months later, Mom and Dad moved back, and not as owners, but as tenants, paying market rent by their own choice. Dad said he needed to contribute, not just accept. I respected that. Carlos and Jessica bought a smaller place, something within reach of his actual salary. Our rivalry softened into mutual respect. He referred clients to my company, and I trusted him with my business accounts. By the next Christmas, we were back at the mahogany table, this time with no secrets, no lies, no illusions. We called that year the year everything changed. The year love had to be rebuilt on respect. The year honesty finally sat at the table with us. And since then, every Christmas in my house, we remind ourselves, the best gifts aren't the ones you unwrap. They're the truths you finally dare to share.